So today we're going to be talking about video. Now, these slides have too much content on them, so ignore them. Just, this is all about, it's a very verbal, very vocal thing. We're going to be sharing this material as well, so I don't think there's any need in taking notes whatsoever. So I'd love to make this as interactive and as fun. I really want to understand what you guys are doing, what your goals are, and how video can potentially help you guys. So we're going to talk about creation, we're going to talk about production, distribution on social channels, emailing, and then also some data tracking, okay? So video marketing it's really the future. I mean, if anyone has been on a social wall recently, you've realized that it's taken over the feeds, right? Everyone is using video now. Why is that? I want to take a step back and to really explain why video has taken over. It's actually, there's a neural reason as to why video is a preferred method of communication. It's based on the fact that when we are trying to understand information, that we in our brains are trying to connect things and to connect stories and to connect issues that we have, connect trust, seek empathy. There's all sorts of things that are happening. The reality, though, is that those things don't necessarily happen when we're reading text or we're looking at simple imagery. The reason why video is so effective is because it might be obvious, but it's because it connects all of our neural lapses and allows us to really understand something at a very visceral, very deep level. And that's powerful, right? In my opinion, the biggest problem on the internet is trust. Right now, we suffer from this problem where we don't trust things when we see them, whether it's information from a salesperson or it's a promotional video or it's a video that's overproduced that seems like it's got too much money behind it. We don't have trust in it. That's why we're constantly seeking referrals and reviews and social proof and things that are very real in nature. So, we as video marketers or as communicators or as business people, we have this powerful medium, video, that we can use. Now, of course, the problem is that it's difficult, at least it historically has been difficult to create, produce, distribute, and track. So we'll get into that in a second. So the first thing I want to say is that video marketing it's not about commercially produced videos anymore. All of us can grab our phones right now, do videos on the fly, and those videos sometimes are more powerful than the produced ones. You'll see really big banks, well-known companies that are finding some person, a spokesperson that maybe have influence or maybe not, and to grab a phone or grab a simple device, record a video, and then convert that into an evergreen asset that lives maybe on a YouTube channel, on a blog post, or even a 12 or 15-second Facebook ad. We're all very empowered right now to start to record video in a format that works for us. The big thing here is to be consistent about it. So, 5 or 7 years ago, a lot of people, a lot of marketers especially, would think that they needed to come up with some amazing produced video that's going to get them 1 million views, and then that's going to make everyone rich, and their boss is going to be happy, and the funnel is going to be full. Those days still exist, but it's kind of like winning the lottery. What video marketers might tell you in this day and age is to actually just try to get into a cadence. Come up with content, put it out there, rinse and repeat, collect your data, and just continue to do that over and over and over again. It's a repetitive effort. It doesn't take as much time from a production standpoint, but you're getting eyeballs. There's different ways to get 1 million views. You can have one video that gets 1 million views, or you can have 100 or 1,000 videos that get 1 million views. It's up to you guys as to how many videos you want to produce and what your cadence is going to be. So another thing that's kind of changed here is that people now, there's been so much garbage and so much information, our inboxes are full, that we are inundated with data, and it's very difficult to make sense of all of this. It's media overload. When you drive down Hollywood Boulevard, close to where we work, there's billboards everywhere, and we start to tune those out. The same thing is happening on social channels. We're all tuning out information left and right. We might not know it, we might know it, but it's a fact, right? So as communicators, we need to find ways to punch through that, to make it so that people can actually trust us, communicate, and then provide some value. So a lot of people, me included, say that value is the solution there. Teach someone something, educate them, entertain them, give them something that they want, not that you want them to have. It's a very important distinction. People want to be educated, they want to be entertained, they want to be delighted, they want to see an iPhone get dipped into paint. That's what they want. Let's give that to them, because if they get that, then they're going to engage. They're going to respond. They're going to want to get to know you and potentially convert, right? So how many people in this room here want to learn how to create videos to drive sales? I think we all want to do that, right? We're all here. There's some business that we're associated with, and we all want to figure out a way to make video help us convert sales. Let's get into that. Okay, we talked about this. Video production does not have to be overproduced anymore. In fact, sometimes that can hurt you, right? Because what it does is that it puts a layer between you and the viewer that makes them think that you are inaccessible, that you're overpriced, that you're corporate America. Brands now are associating with individuals. The people are really the new brands. If you look at all these great companies, they're finding a spokesperson. It could be an employee, it could be a hired gun, it could be someone that represents them as a company. And then the startups, the smaller companies that have taken off and grown, have had faces to represent those brands. So, we as individuals, we as small business owners or up and coming or even larger companies, we have the ability to leverage the human asset, the human element, the human storytelling capability to go and connect with people using video. That does not require an expensive video. Another thing that's critically important here is that I can't tell you how many times I see this where people have a video that don't have a funnel in mind. They don't have a call to action. There's a video, there's an expression, there's no empathy, there's no path to a conversion. Very important to think about that. Now, I don't think that should be the first thing. I think that should be one of the things. But it is important to realize that when you create a video that you are moving people down a funnel and give them a clear call to action. People would actually prefer to have a clear call to action than have something be evasive or misunderstood or something that's a little bit difficult to kind of, really pinpoint. Commercial production, just a little backstory here. So at Dubb, at my company, we started to produce these videos. We started to overproduce them. I remember when we started to shoot these, we'd have 3 cameras, and we'd have a crew, and we'd have all these great things. And we realized that it was not scalable, and it would take us a long time to get these done because there was editing and production and post-production and sound and all sorts of stuff. And what we realized was that we just needed to start shooting, and we needed to start putting our content on all social channels, and that's where we saw a lot more lift. And quite frankly, it just released a lot of toll and a lot of stress from us.
Thank you, Ruben. Huge round of applause for Ruben for the first half. He'll be back up. Awesome. So, distribution. So just a little bit about my background. I started making videos at the age of 10 years old. I found a Macintosh computer, first GarageBand, which was audio editing, and then iMovie, which was video editing. And I just loved it. It was my passion. I just made weird little videos. When I discovered you could reverse a video, my mind was blown. I could make a whole bunch of marbles fly up into the air, and it was an amazing moment for me. And that was wow, the power of this. I can essentially manipulate time, and I can manipulate reality. And so I kept doing that, and then Twitter came out, and 11 years ago I joined Twitter, and I was on there, and just the intersection of technology and content, I was like, wow, this is so cool. And as it kept going, this kind of content ended up becoming the pillar of what digital marketing is. Now that's kind of at the center of all this. And I didn't actually go into marketing initially. At the age of 16, I was on film sets through family connections, because in LA, it's all about who you know. I was able to kind of weasel my own way onto film sets, start doing data management and DIT, which is basically backing up data, working my way up, assistant editor, then editing, which is my passion. And so I've seen firsthand the scale of what content creation used to be. Huge teams. I remember doing this one commercial shoot. It was 15 seconds long. Someone just walking up and being like, "Hello, how you doing?" And it took a huge team, a truck, hundreds of thousands of dollars. A micro budget film is considered $250,000. So, and that was what 7 years ago. In that time, everything has completely changed, and I've witnessed that. myself. The job that I'm doing at Dubb, which is just making content marketing, I'm just one person, but that would have taken at least like 10 people, just one job. And the reason that I'm able to do that is because of all these tools. And that's, the way that Premiere Pro has evolved, the way that cameras have evolved. Like just this tiny camera right here does 4K. So now, just as one person commented over there, these, especially in LA, we're in this sort of realm where now people are trying to convince, oh, okay, now you have to spend a ton of money to make content. And when the reality is, you can just start making it yourself. Yes, you want to make something that's higher produced, you get a team, and you want to distribute it, you get a team, and that might be higher quality, but really you should just start right now, just with, there's no excuse to pull out a phone and just try things, make as much as you can. And a huge part of that, and if that was the case 10 years ago as well, there would be nowhere to go. Like if it was easy to make and cheap to make content, as it is now, there's nowhere to put that. Well, now not only is it cheap to make content, there's also 1,000 places you can put that content, also at low cost. So you can take out your phone, record a video that's just like, hey guys, I'm here, just check out my product, super authentic, talking about that, and then you can put it everywhere. So that's really the power of, so getting onto distribution, that's where distribution comes in. So you can make, there's so many ways to make it sound complex. You can say, oh, I'm a marketing agency, and we can leverage the Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. Yes, you can do all that, but it really it comes down to just simple, basic tenets of what works nowadays as far as distribution. Just consistency, quality, and getting out as many places as possible, and not being locked into the old models. So if you were like, okay, YouTube, you found out about YouTube, you started posting that for 5 years, then an app called Vine comes around, you don't go on that, maybe you missed that whole wave, and then of course Vine shuts down, so you're like, oh, well, good thing I didn't get into Vine. Well, someone else who decided to choose Vine, decided to take a chance on that app, they could have used the kind of organic growth that happened on that platform and parlayed that into all the other channels. So I'm not going to tell you I have any secret for content distribution. It's literally just being open to the fact that these tools are out there and that there isn't really a barrier to entry. Anyone who tells you there's a barrier to entry to any digital distribution platform is maybe they're trying to sell you something, and that's fine. That's trying to make a business, but really you should, and it's work, but you can outsource that. The work is uploading to a YouTube, to an Instagram, to a Facebook, to LinkedIn. And then, there's technical details. I think the biggest part is really keeping up with the trends. I think it's less about some kind of secret sauce, and it's just being knowledgeable. It's maybe if you're not as tapped into this ever-changing world, it's finding someone that you work with or in your community who is on Twitter every day and who knows that YouTube just changed their algorithm and now 10-minute videos are preferred. Or now actually, I think that's actually common knowledge now. Everyone's like, oh, make videos that are 10 minutes. Well, the emerging creators, the trends that I'm seeing now is that it's not just 10-minute length, it's actually watch time that's preferred. So now it's not just making 10-minute videos, it's making 20-minute videos, and that'll bring the average watch time to around 10 minutes. It was publicized that YouTube's switching from views to watch time as the preferred metric. But now they're actually tweaking it again to prefer long-term, reoccurring, and satisfied viewership. So this is beyond watch time. This is actually, are they coming back to your channel? Are they actually satisfied? So they're going to use things like ratings and polls, other amazing algorithms to kind of actually measure, are you satisfied after watching? Are you coming back? And how long are you watching? So that means there's a pivot that's happening, not only from these high dollar productions to more authentic in your pocket productions. There's also a pivot from these kind of flashy, clickbaity videos and I think this is actually something that all the speakers have talked about today. It's about the creative in the sense that, and maybe what I can elaborate on that, is that the creative is actually truly value add. It's truly meaningful. The creative doesn't have any slant of like, oh, well, I'm making this creative because I have an agenda, or I'm trying to sell you something. The modern audiences, they can tell so easily when you distribute on these very intimate platforms. Like their friends that they met, their cousin's friend is also competing with your post. So they have the same kind of feeling there. So they're like, oh, well, if you're trying to sell me something, if you have an agenda, like I'm just gonna unfollow you. That's not valuable. So now in the world of long-term, reoccurring, satisfied viewership, just make sure you're coming from a place of really genuine, just like, okay, I'm making this to either entertain or educate, and then at the very end, be open about the fact that, oh, I also have a business, I also have a product, and I'd like to sell it to you. So things are changing. I won't take up all the time. Oh, Instagram videos, we'll touch on that. I mean, Instagram's interesting how you've seen in literally the last few years, Instagram was sort of a niche platform to now the most dominant cultural force in the social media space. And you got to stay nimble because it's always changing. I touched on the fact that Vine shut down. Well, actually, there's a new app coming out called Byte by Vine's co-founder, Dom Hoffman. And there's a huge micro community, about 70,000 Vine creators rallying around that. And an app like that that's going to come out this summer, could come out and either completely flop or suddenly it's the next TikTok, which is, TikTok is now right now it's the social network that's spreading everywhere. So that means that now Instagram is almost like the Facebook, which is like the old, the standby. So the point is things are changing all the time. So no matter where you're publishing, you just have, it's just publish everywhere and don't publish the same thing everywhere. I think actually that's one thing I'll note on this slide. There's Instagram stories, which are the ephemeral 24-hour stories. There's the main feed posts, which are evergreen, so they last forever. You might think, oh, well, I made a YouTube video. I'll just cut that into, parse it into a Instagram story, and then I'll also post that to Instagram, and maybe I'll also post that same video on LinkedIn. Now, that'll save you time producing, but in the world where you can take out your phone and just hit record and make more content, there's no reason not to. There's no reason not to create individual assets for every single platform and every single feature on that platform. So create a unique Instagram story, create a unique TikTok video, create a unique Twitter post. And then you'll stand out. Any other slides? Oh, emailing video. Actually, yeah, let's see with Darius. This is Darius Santos from Dubb. Thank you for my time.
Hello, everyone. All right, so we've talked a little bit about some more generic things on like a higher level. What we're going to do now is just kind of dive into some specifics of how to begin incorporating video into emails. And there's going to be a couple of other slides that really I'm going to talk about some specific best practices and things like that. So the idea here is obviously you can't attach videos into emails themselves. You can't embed an entire video in an email. There's typically an attachment limit of like 25 megabytes. Which would be just a few seconds of HD video or 1080 or even 720p. So you can't attach a video itself into an email, but the best practice in the industry now is typically a link to the video, and you want to make that link as attractive as possible. This day and age, people are very hesitant to click links, even if they're from a trusted source, because what's to say that your account didn't get hacked and you're sending malicious links through your email. So people are very hesitant to click links. And so in replacement of a link, your best bet is to do some type of previews, like a preview image, whether that's a thumbnail image or what actually we do within our company is use animated GIFs. So what that is like a little 3-second loop, or actually you can change the length of that GIF as long as you want. But the idea is to use an animated preview inside of the email that's really gonna help click-through rates tremendously. By giving a preview of the video, you can give like your best part of the video to make that email look as interesting as possible. And you can even use like a custom GIF, so the preview itself doesn't have to be related to the video. So obviously if the video is just kind of a talking head, maybe you want to make the thumbnail a bit more interesting than that, whatever that might be. So we don't have any examples of really cool GIFs here in the slides, but we use a bunch of different ones in our own emails and our drip sequences. So whenever you're trying to incorporate a video into an email, this is best done by giving an animated preview. Just tons of studies out there have shown that it's going to drive the highest click-through rates. So whether that's using a service, like there's plenty of free ones out there, you can generate GIFs of your own. A platform like ours does that automatically. So when you're attaching videos into emails, that link is going to then go to the video itself. So I think a lot of people will utilize, say, YouTube for a free video hosting service. And so, to be a link to a YouTube video and they click that, it takes them to the video where you may set that to private so that, that only that person can view it, or only the person with the link, or it may be a public video. But the idea there is that that's where the entire video would play. And so if you have something you're trying to communicate through, whether that's a visual element or just your interpersonal communication, you wanted to, put a name to a face to the name, really it doesn't matter what the purpose of the video is. The idea is that it's going to go to that hosted source. There's also things like Vimeo and Wistia or Dubb, so you can have these videos hosted on any number of places. And the idea here is to get the most value out of where that video is hosted. So on YouTube, you can have things like click the link below, and you can have some hyperlink in the description, or you can say, or stay tuned, and or click over here. You can say things like that. Other services like Dubb or Wistia also provide like call to action buttons. And really, as Ruben was mentioning earlier, that's the point of the video, is to drive action and to drive steps. And so when you have clear, actionable next steps in the video or attached to the video, that's really where you're going to have the highest conversion rates. You're going to have the highest click-throughs there, because those steps, there's not any guesswork. They don't have to say, oh, well, I watched this video, now what? Or click this link. So depending upon what your video's intention is, the idea is to get as much value out of that hosted source as you can. So if you use a service, a paid service like Vimeo or Dubb or Wistia, you want to have that as branded as you can. We want to give as much value to where that video is hosted as you can. So whether that's your branding, your calls to actions, additional resources. So what we typically do is we're using videos for sales in a lot of aspects. And this isn't something that's done widely, because as some people in the audience have said, they have videos they need to produce, and they have to have them produced, and this is like a third party, or maybe it's done internally, but it's more of a commercial asset. And the idea is we really need to be equipping everyone with the power to leverage video for themselves. So this includes salespeople, this includes business development representatives, anyone that is communicating on a daily basis with customers. They should have the ability to leverage video for themselves. And so sending video through email, as like I said, has historically been pretty difficult. You're attaching a YouTube link, you record the video, upload it to YouTube, and then here's the link to it, and then you kind of hope for the best. So the idea behind that is, as I said, equipping everyone that is applicable with the power to leverage video of their own. There's a ton of assets out there, such as Dubb or Wistia, Vimeo. There's a lot of Chrome extensions. You can do things like screen recordings. The idea is to provide not only a face to the name, but also you can begin building that trust and that relationship through the power of video. I mean, have you ever, we're in LA, and you maybe seen a celebrity, and you just kind of get that feeling like, oh my God, I know that person, and you don't know them. You've just seen them on movies or maybe clips, but you still get that feeling, and that's just because of the relationship that's been established through video. It's completely asynchronous. It's just one direction. You've just seen a video. They don't know who you are, but you have that feeling created by the video. And so, as Ruben touched on, it's a very neural thing that's happening, and you need to be leveraging that on the widest scale possible. So your salespeople, anyone communicating, even customer support, and CEOs, like literally everyone should be leveraging the power of video to get what they can out of it. So we were talking about how specifically, one more, can you go back? Still the emailing the video. The best practices there is to use an animated preview and then direct them to the hosted source, whether that's, like I said, a Vimeo, or if it is YouTube, like if you're tight on a budget and you want to use the free tools out there, trying to get as much value out of those videos as possible. So it's not just the video itself, you're trying to bring value to when they're actually viewing the video. And the most valuable part of viewing your videos is actually the data. So in the next slide, so we're talking about analytics from your videos. So you can see things like, how much of your video they watched. Did they click your calls to action? Did they click the links? So a lot of free tools probably will not provide this detailed analytics. So if you plan on leveraging video, it's definitely in your best interest to have this information available. Sources like Dubb, Vimeo, Wistia, they do provide accurate, detailed reporting, and that data is what's going to help you really learn from your videos. You know, you're going to see drop-off rates, like say if they watch 50% of your video and that's a continued thing, then you realize that at some point in this video you're losing them and this video needs to be addressed, especially if that's a reoccurring asset, like this is an advertisement or it's a pitch video. Like a lot of salespeople, as I mentioned, equipping salespeople with video is going to be in everyone's best interest. They can begin to develop those relationships and they can get their personality across. And not only that, but they're going to be able to provide a visual element of anything like a screen recording. You know, so say instead of sending this long, boring email where you're trying to explain things and throw in screenshots, it's going to be much quicker and more efficient to just create a screen recording. You can include your face on there and say, hey, so we're talking about this line, this line, this line, and then attach that into an email to be sent out. And that's going to be, and you have the data reporting for that, so you can see when that prospect opened the video, what percentage of it that they watched. All those data points are really what helps you learn from your videos. Because if you're not learning, you're kind of stagnant. And if you're not growing, you know, if you're not growing your what you're actually doing in your videos, then that's gonna be not be beneficial. Sorry, I'm getting distracted from the time. Got it. 20 minutes. Thank you, sir. So the idea here is to begin leveraging video. I mean, if you're not already, this is definitely something you should be looking into. There's a tremendous push. So something like Cisco says 80% of all internet traffic is video. By 2020, it's going to be as high as 90%. So people are just much more accommodated to watching video versus you know, reading like a really long blog. Even you know, Google and YouTube, they recognize the value of video. So if you put a video on a blog, it's going to rank much higher than those without. So getting used to using video is something you need to do now, sooner than later. And you know, being able to actually learn from your data is going to be crucial to that development. So as you begin incorporating video, you know, early on it's going to be a learning process. You're going to, you know, kind of stub your toe a couple of times. And so like having that, you know, million view video, that's the dream. But in order to get there, it's definitely going to be a process. And having the data to back that up is going to be what's going to allow you to grow. So you need to see what video engagement's like, ideally developing a target audience. All of those things are kind of systematic in the fact that it's not one time. You don't produce one video and you're going to get these learnings. And so we were talking about data tracking specifically. I'm not sure what's on this slide, but the idea here is to track the more important parts of your data, like the engagement, how much of the video are they watching, are they clicking through, and if they aren't, what can you do to improve that? So just like when you're sending an email campaign, everything needs to be A/B tested. So you have one video, you try that for a while, see what the engagement is like, the click-through, and then you try another video. So we're talking not so much about video types here. As I mentioned, you have your salespeople's videos, you have your produced videos, your commercials. And so each of these, it's the same strategy. You're going to have to take learnings from that. It's a process. It's not a, you know, here, we got one video and let's just keep retrying that thing. It's definitely a curve here. And it's all about the data. So not sure if there's a whole lot more I can say about that. It's a matter of being able to track that data. And if you're not tracking the data, you're really missing out on a huge aspect and you're not really getting everything you can from using video. So when you begin incorporating video into your business and into your prospecting and sales, you need to be following up with the data so that you can then learn and grow. That's it.
Thanks, Darius. Round of applause. So let's wrap up, just to keep a little bit of time for Q&A. So just a couple of key takeaways here. Video is easy to create, to produce, and to distribute. We should all start doing it. You know, the key here is making consistent, high-quality content. Now, high quality does not mean overproduced. High quality just means value-oriented. The second thing is that, you know, it's all about the storytelling. It's what people really, truly connect to. It's a human being that's sharing a story, that's expressing empathy, that's addressing some sort of a pain point and potentially providing a solution. That sequence works. It's worked since the dawn of time, and it will continue to work as long as it's honest and authentic. Each platform, each channel deserves its own content. Instagram is now pushing square-shaped videos and now 9:16 format size. whereas YouTube, as Shannon mentioned, is promoting longer format, 16 by 9. You know, Facebook is sort of starts at the 6 to 12 second mark and then goes up to the 2-minute mark, 16 by 9 or square or 9 by 16. The point is that every channel has its own parameters, and we should understand what those parameters are and create content to be able to place on those. Email is a powerful means of still sending videos. These can be sent on a one-to-one basis, or these can be sent on a mass basis. It's also great to create automated workflows where you have multiple videos that are being sent via emails or other distribution methods, because as you guys know, if you're in sales or definitely in marketing, that it requires a number of touch points to ultimately get your conversion. Let's be data oriented. Let's look at our analytics. Let's understand what the view rates are, what the watch rates are, what the conversion rates are, what the click rates are, what the average sales cycle lengths are. There's a lot of economics that we can look in here. And from that, we can understand our customer acquisition cost and our long lifetime value. And to, of course, go rinse and repeat, do our testing so that we can make constant improvements. Thanks for listening, guys. Those are our emails. Thank you. As a promotion for the conference, we wanted to give everyone just a free month of service to Dubb. So go to dubb.com, and the promo code is DigiMarCon. So check it out, guys, and email me if you have any questions. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Ruben.